Did anybody have any questions? What came up during the lunchtime or the meditation break? If there's anybody about Buddha's teaching, we're going to go into the second noble truth, the truth of where the suffering originates. Prem, question, yes. Yep, 5 khandhas is the main suffering, yeah?
Yeah. I don't think it came up in our discussion this morning and yesterday.
It didn't come up, you're saying?
No, about the why do we call Panchaskandha dukkha? That is the major reason for the next step. When you go to the origin,
yeah.
It is getting rid of the Panchaskandha, isn't it? Panchaskandha dukkha.
Mm-hmm. So what's the question? Sorry,
my question is, was it discussed in the? I can't remember it being discussed.
Oh, the 5 khandhas as being dukkha.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Well, let's discuss it now. I'm gonna.
I don't expect you to do that, but I'm wondering.
I'm seeing what the big.
Don't worry.
No, I am worried.
Sorry if I put you.
Yeah.
Did we?
Yeah, we did, but it doesn't matter. It's like.
Okay. So. Yeah.
We went yesterday through the with the khandhas, with the aggregates.
Yeah. Okay. Then that's fine. Let's carry on. Yeah.
So basically, everything which is conditioned, which is just all conditioned things, which are basically everything what makes up your body and mind, everything is suffering, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying with the aggregates,
That's
with the
right.
khandhas.
Aggregates, yeah.
So whatever makes your body and mind, you cannot look anywhere. We can easily see there's like, oh, body is suffering. We talked about it, how it ages, how there's death and all that. We can see that then we quite often we identify all of those things, the sufferings within our body. But we have to also remember that the suffering is also lies within the aggregates, within the khandhas of the mind. And quite often, if anything, the deepest level of suffering lies within those what makes up your mind. The body itself, yes, there is suffering in the body, but the second arrow, it always lies within that. There is suffering in the body, but the bigger, actually, the deeper suffering lies within that, within the mind. So whatever makes you as you, that's why there's the clinging into your body, and then the suffering, really the deep sufferings are within the body. That's where the self really lies. Sure, we identify ourselves with the body, but honestly, when you look at it, the identifying me as me, you think is your mind, and the different parts of the mind. Let me see if Bhikkhu Bodhi had something nice to say. Okay, this is actually nice, something different, which is not thought often. So with the aggregates, what you said, the khandhas, are momentary without a permanent core or substance. Yet we identify these things as myself, these khandhas, these what makes us me. It's like even though it's made out of parts. Yet we have no absolute control over them. If you would have control of your body, for example, you could say, I don't want to be sick. If you had control of your mind, you could say, I don't want to be depressed. Or if you have anger, I don't want to be angry. If you have sorrow, you said, well, I don't want to be sorry. Yet you can see that you don't have control over your body and your mind. Otherwise, you could just say, I don't want to be sad, and you wouldn't be sad anymore. They are unstable and subject to rise and fall. They change because of being is compound. Because as we are compound of these things made out of these changing factors, there is nothing with personality hold onto as basis for lasting security. To understand this truth, we must look life objectively. This is from Bhikkhu Bodhi. Removing the screen of our desires and prejudices. The Buddha suggests viewing existence from three angles: satisfaction, asada, danger, adinava, and release, nisarna. While the world offers enjoyment, which leads to attachment, it also possesses the danger of impermanence. To find release, we must remove the attachment that leads to pain. This view extends beyond single lifetime. The Buddha teaches the fact of samsara, the beginningless round of rebirth. He states that in our wandering through birth and death, we have shed more tears than there is water in the great ocean. We have inhabited all planes of existence from heavens to hells, yet even heavenly life ends. True stable happiness cannot be found in the conditioned realm. So the one thing which is with the khandhas, how do you really see, which is really good to see, that they're impermanent, they're ever-changing, and they're conditioned. So that's where the suffering lies, within those aggregates, what we call them in Buddhism, in English, or is like these things what makes us us. That's where the suffering really lies in there. So now we're going into that, into the craving, and that's the truth of original suffering, where the suffering starts. But do you want to continue?
Yes, please. Yes, that's what it quite clicks in together.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, Ajahn.
So there are, like you said, we don't deny that there is nothing, no happinesses, but the suffering lies in that changeability of things, and the only nisarna, sort of like the safety is only just to get out of all of these rounds of rebirth. Anything else? Anybody wants to make any comments? Good. Okay, let's see where our suffering starts. Original suffering. Let me see. Suffering is to get to the next page. There we go. Threefold wanting. Now, this is the noble truth of origin of suffering. It is the wanting, tanha, which leads to rebirth, accompanied by enjoyment and desire, seeking delight now here, now there. That is wanting related to the five senses, wanting to be, and wanting not to be, annihilation. So, quite often we talk about this one that's translated here as wanting, maybe Ajahn Brahm. You see the Pali word there, the tanha, what the Buddha will use this for this wanting. Where does this, why do you get reborn again? Why does this samsara, these endless rounds of rebirth go on and on? It's the wanting, the tanha there, the root word comes, or the original meaning, what the people used at the time of the Buddha, that means thirst. Tanha, you're thirsty of something. And we all know when we're really thirsty, it's a 41-degree day yesterday and we didn't have any sip of water to drink all day. Only thing in your mind would be, where can I get water? It's not like, should I go, buy tomorrow is a Boxing Day today, and like go and buy something tomorrow is cheaper, this and that. None of that crosses your mind. The only thing for you is, I want to have a drink. And that's that kind of idea with the thirst. With this wanting, it's not just like a little bit of wanting. This wanting to exist, and wanting to be, rather, and the wanting of five senses is so strong that it compels us almost from life to life. The third kind of wanting not to be, must be, it's obviously because Buddha said this, it must be as strong perhaps, or is very important. But the wanting not to be, annihilation, for me, sometimes it's a bit difficult to relate to that, and it's like, is it as important as the other two? I mean, obviously we can see that there's like, if there's a lot of suffering, we just rather would not be there with it. And this would almost like to be with the person who's suicidal. They don't want to be. They see this suffering everywhere and they just want it all and they don't want to come back. The obvious problem being with suicide in Buddhism is that it won't end the suffering. You just didn't deal with it, or you just didn't have the tools here and now in this life to deal with it. So you ended up suiciding, but you will continue with those problems in the next life. That's the problem with suicide, really, in Buddhism. But the five senses is this really for us as humans, the karma loka, we talked about it yesterday. We live in the world of five senses, and that is, perhaps we don't realize how strong the desire is to be from there, but to really, to even go past your body, when you're meditating, for example, to leave the body behind, it is really difficult. It feels like a moment of death. It's especially when you go there first time, when you're meditating and you start, the breath appears, you look at the breath, and then the body starts dissolving, so to speak. It feels like, quite a common way people describe it is, it's not like it's gone like that, like one click of a button, but it is sort of like you start disappearing. The one part of the body starts disappearing, like from your leg upwards. You don't feel some part of the body, and then you start dissolving, and it's almost like the head, the knowing consciousness part where we associate ourselves to be, dissolves the last or disappears last. And for me, the best way to describe it, or the way I imagine in my mind how I can try to relate people how it feels like you would be in a complete dark, you would walking into a water and when the water would be completely pitch black, you wouldn't see anything below it, and you keep walking deeper and deeper and deeper, and you try to look at the body underneath the water, and you don't see anything. But this is like a deeper level of that. This is a level of where you try to feel the body below that. You're just sort of like, you look down into the legs and there's like, it's nothing. It's like completely disappeared. The mental image of that body has disappeared. And it's such a weird experience that the mind you start worrying about it. It was like, will it come back? What's happening? And it's even that, and it's not even that kind of like, sometimes people talk about jhanas, nimittas, and like, or as if it's sort of like not very deep state. Even when you get, this is not even that. This is not even so-called deep meditation. You just start losing your body, and it's such a weird experience that people are just, they cannot let it go. Especially when you start walking deeper and deeper into dark water, and it starts to go up to your nose, eyeballs, I will disappear. You don't want to go there. It's just sort of like you start pushing it away. It's just sort of, it's scary. Especially when you get there first times and there's nobody there to encourage you, and when you go back, there's like, you shake up, you can get up from your cushion and just like jump up. It's like, I don't want, it's like, it feels like you are disappearing because you don't know what you're doing yet. You're going into this kind of place where you've never been before. Even losing your body, then you start getting this data into like, what does it mean to not to exist? And this is just losing your physical body, not even losing the parts of your mind, so to speak. The nice thing is that you keep coming here, and we encourage everybody, look, you're safe, everybody, a lot of people have done this, you will come back, the body will come back from there. And also, another part which keeps you away from there, that it's very exciting, that you start getting there first time, and then you get excited, and then you bounce back, the body appears, so to speak, and the thinking mind comes back. But what it gives is feedback when you start losing different parts of, whether it's a body, you start losing a mind, or sort of you go into the calmer state. You start seeing that it's gone, yet the knowing existed, I existed, the self, so to speak, is still there. The knowing, these parts of knowing are the last parts, so to speak, which are disappearing. But to exist, it is to be, for us, is to be with the five senses. And for us, it's almost impossible. That's what the Buddha said. It's so difficult for anybody to get out of the cycle of rebirth, because we want to be. So what is the... And I shouldn't ever touch this, but yet I always want to touch this. Always starts to do static when I touch this. Okay, now I stopped. So what is the original wanting? And where does this wanting arise and become established? Wherever in the world there is anything agreeable and pleasurable, there this wanting arises and it becomes established. Sights, sounds, smells, tastes, touches, mind objects in the world that are agreeable and pleasurable, and there this wanting arises and becomes established. The six consciousnesses, sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, and mind, are agreeable and pleasurable. And there this wanting arises and becomes established. Experience of the six senses is agreeable and pleasurable, and there this wanting arises and becomes established. Perception of sight, sounds, and smells, that's a pleasurable, agreeable and pleasurable. Will is agreeable and pleasurable. The wanting of sight, sounds, smells, taste, touch, and mind objects is agreeable. Thinking about them is agreeable and pleasurable. Fantasizing about them is agreeable and pleasurable. And that is the noble truth, original origin of suffering. So we can see that here, we talked earlier about the six senses and what makes us human, us. And here we can see the will is there again. We want to have things agreeable and pleasurable. And then the will, again, this is more from Ajahn Brahm, not so much from my own insight. He regards the will as the core thing, what makes us come from again and again, and to not to be able to let go, whether it's deep meditation or even into the rebirth, as far as I know. That's what he means. That's what he teaches. So it's that we almost will ourselves to be into being. We want to be. And then, but it's, as always, everything depends on in Buddhism, everything is dependently originated. There's no somehow first point of wanting, craving, tanha. On seeing the sight, and the same with all the other six senses, you want it if it's pleasing. You try to get rid of it if it's unpleasing. You abide with mindfulness and wisdom of the five senses, the body unestablished, with the limited mind, and you do not understand as it actually is, the liberation of mind and the liberation by wisdom, wherein those deceiving and oppressive states cease without a remainder. Engaged as you are in favoring and opposing whatever experience you have, whether pleasant or painful or neutral, you delight in that experience, you welcome it and remain holding it. As you do so, delight arises in you. Now, delight in experience is fuel. With fuel, upadana as condition, states of existence develop. With the states of existence as condition, rebirth. With rebirth as condition, old age. Old age and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, negativity, and distress come to be. Such is the original whole mass of suffering. Again, could you say that the Buddha was teaching about rebirth when he was talking about the rebirth? Maybe he just was talking about rebirth in a sense that it's every mind moment is a sort of new rebirth. Like maybe the Buddha was talking about that, and you could just sort of you could say that perhaps that's what he meant, or we could consider it that. But again, the Buddha says here is that the as a rebirth as a condition, you get old age, death, and sorrow. He didn't just say, well, from one mind moment you're reborn into the next mind moment, the next thinking mind, so to speak. But so everything has it's dependently originated. When Buddhism, we don't say that there is a beginning, this beginning of where everything starts. Before that, there's nothing. And the Buddha didn't speculate, he didn't say that whether there is such a point. He just said it's difficult to see such a point that there would be, like, nothing would be, the dependently arisen things started somewhere from nothing. He doesn't start speculating like that. He just says that it's difficult to see that that there would be anything like a sort of beginningless end. And the interesting thing here is, like, it's easy to see it. Perhaps if you want it, you find it pleasing, you want to hold on to it. And if you don't like it, you try the dukkha part. If you don't like some suffering, you want to handball it to your friend, or not to hold it, so to speak. But it's even that sort of favoring, opposing all the experiences, that makes you as you. And that's why they say somebody who's fully enlightened, they don't have those kind of preferences. They don't say, like, this is good and bad. They just don't, there's no opposing anymore. And perhaps sometimes I try to remind people that even if it's like you think we are going in this round of rebirth, in this like rebirth process, then we get born and we go again towards the same families, the same loved ones. But it's the thing, what also happens, that even if you really have a strong hatred towards somebody, you are really going towards that person because you haven't sort of resolved that issue. You haven't untied the knot yet. So even that causes the rebirth process to start, not to start, but that that's the condition where, like, you feel that you are you need to have this fighting partner again, even in this life or the next life, when you didn't sort of dissolve that issue. So that we try to sort of, so to speak, neutralize things as much as we can. But we have to remember, we cannot neutralize everything. Life is too complicated. Your karma is too complicated. Other people's karma are so complicated that for us to sort of untangle this and grow in the wisdom that I'm not going to suffer again, it's impossible. That cannot happen. The only way is that we try to get this end this dependently originated rebirth process. So that's where the suffering starts. The suffering starts from the thirst. You engage in favor and opposing whatever experience you have, whether it's pleasant and painful or neutral. You delight, you welcome it, you hold on to it, and that's where you come to be. And then the idea that experience is a fuel. You experience something pleasurable. You find it's like, I want to. Basically, it doesn't just mean pleasurable in the sense that, but it means like I want to engage with it. Again, if that kind of like anger arises, you want to engage with the anger. Whereas you can see that somebody who's enlightened, those kind of things don't arise anymore. They don't have anger, for example. They don't. It just doesn't arise. They don't need to push it or hold on to it anymore. So that the fuel has ceased for those kind of beings, those kind of humans, so to speak, who are. They don't have that fuel which fuels the existence anymore. That's why, like, anger or craving, in sense of like the five senses, is completely like gone. It doesn't feel the condition anymore. And the Pali word upadana, really, what fuels you, what keeps you going. Obviously, with the body, we need to eat food. That's a fuel. but the feel for the mind is that conditioning. And that the Pali word upadana, it's almost the same word which like you take up. It's like what the tree would take from the root with the roots. You take all these things, and that fuels your conditioning. You know, and that from there the existence starts. And again, so always remember Buddhism. What's you? What causes the rebirth process? How does the rebirth process work? It's just dependently originated. Same way you were you 1 second ago, 1 minute ago, yesterday, week ago, since you were a baby. It's just conditions are rolling on, and it continues. 1 second from now you are going to be you. 1 minute from now you're going to be you. 1 month. And so that's how you have to see this. How do you get your head around this, this rebirth process and all that? It's just that conditioning, that kind of the same kind of changeability. What you are, you now. It goes from 1 second to minute to hopefully many more years you have left, but it doesn't stop at death. The same kind of conditioning continues. And then we're going into the kamma part, which is what makes up sort of that the volitional activities, so to speak. You use your will of doing something, and then from there you're creating kamma. So again, what are these actions you make? What are what causes things to come into being? You choosing to push away, opposing or holding. You're using your will. You're choosing, so to speak, and that you're creating kamma. So there's different kinds of kamma. Present kamma results. By the way, with the kamma, we have to remember kamma just means work. You can translate that work. You do something and then you get the results. With the 5 senses as the cause, the source as the basis, the culprit being simply 5 senses. President quarrel with the prime ministers, politicians with each other, priests with imams, businessmen with householders, monks with nuns, hopefully not so much, parents quarrel with each other and with their children, siblings with siblings, and friend with friend. And here in their quarrels, brawls, and disputes, they attack each other with abuse, weapons, lawsuits, whereby they incur death, injury, or loss. Now, this too is a danger in the case of 5 senses, a mass of suffering in this very life. And then that's the cause for being simply, and the cause simply being the 5 senses. Again, with the 5 senses as the cause, people steal, commit fraud, sleep with other people's partners, commit domestic violence, sexually abuse their children, and when they're caught, they're imprisoned and ruined. Now, this too is a danger in the case of 5 senses, a mass of suffering in this very life, the cause being simply the 5 senses. Everything is in causes and condition. Future kamma. What you can not just here and now, what you get in the future. We talked about hell earlier, like how you could have done something, and even this life is good, you still might go to the hell because of past. Again, with the 5 senses as the cause, the source, and the basis, the culprit being simply 5 senses, people indulge in misconduct of body, speech, and mind. Having done so, after death, they reappear in states of misery, in unhappy destination and perdition, even in hell. Now, this is danger in the case of 5 senses, a mass of suffering in the life to come. Having the 5 senses as the cause, its source and basis, the cause being simply the 5 senses. You will not find a spot in the world, not in the sky, not in the ocean, not inside a mountain cave, where you will be free from the results of kamma. Kamma is a volition, as a will, as choosing. volition, choosing is the kamma, I say. For having willed, you act by body, speech, or mind. And what is the diversity of kamma? There is kamma to be experienced in hell, or in the animal realm, or in the ghost realm, or in the human world. And there is kamma to be experienced in the deva, heavenly world. And what is the result of kamma? The result of kamma, I say, is threefold. To be experienced in this very life, or in the next life, or in some subsequent life. Inheritance of deeds. Beings are the owners of their kamma, the heirs of their kamma. They have kamma as their origin, kamma as their property, kamma as their resort. Whatever kamma they do, good or bad, they are its heirs. Wherever the kamma ripens, it is there that you experience its results, either in this very life or in the next life, or in some subsequent life. There comes a time when the great oceans dry up and evaporate and no longer exist. But still, I say, there is no making an end of suffering for those beings roaming through rebirth and death, blinded by delusion and addicted to wanting. There comes a time when the Himalayas, the king of mountains, burn up and perish and no longer exist. But still I say, there is no making an end of suffering for those beings roaming through birth and death, blinded by delusion, addicted to wanting. There comes a time when the earth burns up, turns into cosmic dust, which spreads throughout the universe and no longer exists. But still I say, there is no making an end of suffering for those beings roaming through rebirth and death, blinded by delusion and addicted to wanting. So even if when a few billion years from now the sun will start expanding, will take over, will burn the earth, will then the whole universe starts turning into cosmic dust over time, yet you still exist. You as you are you now. And what exists is your kamma. There is a person as you are now. You are experiencing deeds from the past. So you cannot just say like, well, I don't have to feel any of my past actions, so to speak. But you cannot be free from them, which we'll get later on. Well, like what's the freedom from all these things, from the actions, from the kamma, until you are freed, meaning you step on the stream, and from then onwards you getting propelled to leave the whole world of five senses, or you leave all the khandhas behind. The khandhas, the volitional formations, so to speak. So there is a lot there, and I think interesting thing is there, which is, again, I've said it, but let's do it again. Kamma as volition, your willing is kamma. I say, for having chosen, having willed with your free will, which you don't have, act by body, speech, and mind, and that is kamma. You choosing is kamma. Whatever you choose, you push it away, hold it, even the neutral things, you're creating kamma. And that is, again, those are the things which you are. Sometimes I think of it this way, it's like a stream of river, and then the stream is sort of conditioned, and then the kamma is it's the landscape, like where the water runs through. There's mountains and banks and all that, and that sort of gives it the shape. So the kamma, so to speak, gives you a shape, who you are. So there is a sort of stream of consciousness, so to speak, and that kamma shapes you. We think we are choosing. It's an illusion, but we cannot not believe into that illusion. We have to take it, the Kamma, as yours until you drop it. You can do it a very short time when you go into deep meditations, or once you step into the stream, you're starting getting in the path of enlightenment. So this is the noble truth of our origin of suffering. So that's yep, okay. So I think now is a good time as any to take a little break, 10-minute meditation, Q&A, and then we're going into the cessation of suffering. We're getting close to the end of the meditation again. One more time. Choose to look at your breath. Choose the breath as your object. Hold it with softness, and wherever it appears, look at it as you would look a friend. Choose to look at your breath with kindness. Now just look at your breath coming in and out 3 more times. After that, you can open your eyes. That's the end of the meditation. Does anybody have any questions coming from the... Where does the suffering start? Yes, please. Your karma. Anybody else has any quick questions I can repeat here? Looks like the microphone is actually one microphone working.
Ajahn, you say something I believe is very refreshing. I just want to make sure I've heard it correctly. So you said that as you said just now, will is a large part of the sense of self, right?
Yeah.
But here, when I read it again, you said karma is
Try
will.
to hold the microphone close.
Karma is volition.
Yeah.
So karma is part of self.
Yeah.
That to me is a very refreshing idea. It helps me.
Yeah.
Because in which case, then this is a great burden, as I've already felt,
Yeah.
because this karma there's no beginning.
You mean the free will?
No, the
willing?
karma. The
Karma is
the inheritance.
burn.
Yeah.
But then that equals, that the same,
Yeah.
Willing is then you are saying basically karma is burden, will is burden.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, because I mean, before this, I've already felt, probably because of my practice, this is a huge burden,
Yeah.
And it's only when eventually, if I'm good enough and make the breakthrough, then I shed a large part of the karma, so it means that I'm shedding a large part of the sense of self.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Yep. So that was just a comment. Sure. Yeah, even for me, it's nice to always keep repeating these things and look at them and try to understand them and think about them over and over again and discuss with you and try to teach others and discuss with other monks and how to look at them from different angles and all that. And that thing where will is the same as like you actually have to do a willful action. You use your will, and it was like, oh, it's good, I can choose. No, it makes a massive. You're choosing suffering basically every time, and then.
Because you're saying once I get master jhana, right?
Yeah.
Then I could go, and of course the first practice of the panya is to look into manifold past life, and literally that's a sense scan the whole series of karma.
Yeah.
And that's
I didn't think of that way.
Whole burden. I mean, it's all the action, right? It's all the.
Yeah. The first break into that to see is that, well, you don't really see. You understand that there is a slight difference there. What you said. The interesting thing is that it's actually it is said that you understand, then you truly understand that rebirth process works. You don't really absolutely have to see your previous birth. That is as far as I understand it. You don't have to have that power to actually literally see into your past life, even though it says that the first breaking of the egg is just, you see that conditionality. You see the teachings. You don't literally have to see into your, like, you saw what you were previously.
Yeah, because I thought I heard from Ajahn Brahmali and so on, you do it properly.
Yeah.
You go back, trace. It's not jump, it throws you back to last life. Yeah, and then go, you die, the other one, you're born, the other, going back and back and back.
It is that you're seeing into that teaching. You see the teachings, but you don't necessarily, see yourself of your own past lives. But neither here, there. But yeah, sure. And but it's interesting that we somehow think it is that will is not suffering, but then there's a lot of suffering lies in that kind of choosing. If you translate will, volition as choosing, like Ajahn Suchato is translating, that every time you choose something, you are actually you're creating conditions to be existing again, and that sort of creates this kind of tanha, the craving.
And then there's a memory bank, right? There's no end to the memory bank. It's like a huge data center, right? Everything
it seems
is
to be. There's no beginning of this, like, and it boggles my mind. And it's like, I guess, again, it's one of those things, no point of thinking about it, but where is this kind of stored? And like, I don't know.
And it's kind of indelible, right? Until once finally go into parinibbana, right? Then everything is bye-bye, yeah?
Until then, you have to experience that. All of you done what you've done in the past. You have to, you so to speak. Yes, you have to experience them. But I mean, they might not ripen this lifetime, and you might, I'm sure the Buddha had a lot of karma which he didn't experience. Everybody have to, but they just got out of it, and that's the only way you can. Is Buddhism giving up? The question from online. Giving up in the sense that yes, you give up. Slowly. It's giving up or disappearing. Perhaps would be perhaps better thing of using. You'd start disappearing. The giving up. You don't. It is how do you can really how it feels like it's that giving up in the sense that in why we use disappearance. It's that same kind of process as. Like even when you're going to meditation, that there is things are disappearing from sort of speak from your world. Even when you are meditating, that's and what Ajahn Brahm actually uses with that's like will. The only thing you have is to, so to speak, your option is to sort of restrain, give up. So in that sense, perhaps you could say that. Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah. Ajahn Mudito, you talk about karma, no? Karma follows us like a shadow. Cause and effect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or either that, or it follows like the heavy, like the cart which is pulled by an ox, and it's either the cart heavy, or it's the shadow which is very light.
Yeah. Okay. Let me. For me, whenever I have a problem, whatever it is, okay, I always refer to this understanding of mine, okay, yeah. It says like a problem, 80% comes from our mind, mind 80%. The other 20% is from our karma, the weather, the changes that make us sick or whatever, the food we eat. And in Tibetan Buddhism, they put in spiritual disturbance, Have you heard of this?
No, I don't. The spiritual disturbance, I don't know what that means.
That is from Tibet, but I put that aside because I was in Theravada, So the problem is our well-being, okay? Yeah. 80% comes from our mind, The mind.
I don't know if it's 80%. Where did you learn this from?
That's I don't know whether it's in the sutta.
It's your own insight.
No, this is from what I read and from what I pick up with friends.
Okay.
80% mind. The other 20% is from our karma, the food we eat, okay, it makes well or sick or whatever, and the changing weather conditions, this thing. I always measure that. The thing.
I don't remember reading those things in the suttas that obviously, the way I frame it is that not everything is karma. Not,
Yes.
no matter what even if you
Yeah.
have suffering in your life, it doesn't, you cannot just sort of trace it back that it always has to be karma.
Exactly. Yep.
So even with the sickness, for example, it's just human body. Your karma is get born as a human, and then from there, you chose to be human, so to speak, and then the craving starts, and you want to be human. You're going towards this realm, and then from there you get the human body, and that will get sick and die. That's the karma follows from there. But sure, you could be walking on the street, and then the weather is oppressive, and you here yesterday, and you get tired because it was hot and humid, and it's not your karma. It's just the season, for example. So there's many things which are clearly not karma.
Or the food we eat, it says this thing, or the weather, and then
Yeah.
80% on the mind. The karma
Yeah.
is in the 20%, so it's not everything karma.
I don't know where you get that percentage number.
I got it. It's a true thing, I read it
I'm sure
it
you
came to
read
my
it
mind
somewhere,
very
but
strongly. It's in me. Whenever I look, my mind, I'll investigate. It's the karma.
No.
It's a food we eat, maybe, or I ate something I'm not well. Or
Sure,
could
sure.
be the weather condition, hay fever, all these things.
Yeah, look. Buddha compares the these speculative questions to a man struck with a poison arrow. If the doctor offers to remove the arrow, and man refuses until he knows the name, caste, and family of the archer, or the material of the bowstring, that man will die before he is cured. Similarly, the speculative thinker, lost in the systems of thought, continues to wallow in suffering. The Buddha's teaching is presented solely to provide the way to liberation. So it goes with that same thing with the bow, with an arrow. It's like there's two arrows, right? So there's an arrow of the mental suffering and the arrow in bodily suffering, for example. And then it's we are trying to remove really the mental suffering part of it. And whether karma is always, it's part of it. It's integral part of who you are, you. You think you are freely choosing, but it's conditioned. And the conditioning goes back, endless times. And then from those choices, that gives you the option now. It's this is what you have. These are the ingredients, and this is what you make the cake from now. So that's why I think Ajahn Brahm chooses the metaphor as only really option you have is to restrain, just to stop, and that takes you towards the liberation. You cannot choose to be liberated, so to speak. You cannot choose to disappear. The choosing has to disappear in order to you to disappear. Do you know what I'm saying? That anything you try, you cannot will yourself out of the samsara. The only thing is you're stopping more and more. The you is disappearing. Not that you're I make right choices, so to speak.
Can I say just quickly one more, just very quickly? Yeah.
Is it a question?
Yeah, question. Yeah, karma again. Okay.
Yeah.
Karma. Whatever we do, the good things, like kindness, generosity, caring, giving, all the thing, can this be to do good? You push down the bad karma.
It's not pushing. It is. Yeah, you could. I mean,
overcome the.
You could think about pushing it down. That is, in a sense, that is. And the Buddha uses the metaphor of of either diluting it, like the salt, similarly of the salt. If you put a spoonful of salt in a cup, it tastes very salty. But if you put it into a dam, there's no trace of that. So you're watering down the bad karma, or you could think about the karma as a cloth. If it's, if the cloth is clean, it takes the dye really well. So you try to have really, you're purifying your mind, and then you're purifying the karma in that sense. And the weird thing about karma, which is for me is difficult to understand, is these neutral karmas. Like, what is neutral karma? It's like, it's sort of here, it's neither here or there. It's like, in action, in reality, what does it mean to have neutral karma? For me, it's easier to think about the good or bad, but there's also neutral karma. But always remember, karma is you do something with your. It's like active doing. You use your will to do something, and then that's because from there you're creating karma. So karma doesn't come from accidental things. Like, let's say you drive a car to come to the Buddhist Society here today, and because of that you killed a lot of bugs. But so you didn't create bad karma in that sense. You killed a lot of beings. All the time we killed a lot of beings, but we don't choose to do that. And but if you go for a ride after this and you think, I want to kill as many bugs as possible, I go to, if anything, you go to a place where there's like a lot of swamp. Go to dog swamp. Maybe there's a lot of bugs there, and drive around in circles, kill a lot of bugs. Well, that's your then. Or you're walking there and you see an ant and you squash it with ill will, and the more ill will you put into it, the more you just really think about it. I'm going to squash that bug here, walking out. The more of that action matters. So the stronger the will is there, the stronger the the results from there is. Similarly, is to take care of Sangha, to feed monks and nuns, for example. The Buddha said it's impossible to think how good that is. So always think about, you can water down the bad karma, push it down, but you can do the same with your good karma. You can push down your good karma with your bad. And you can water down your good karma with bad. So it's like always lean towards the goodness and concentrate on the good things. Make more of it.
Thank you.
Bill wants to ask a question.
Yes, Ajahn, what do you think of collective karma?
What do I think? What do you think about collective karma?
I'm not too sure.
You're not sure.
Asking.
Does anybody have an opinion about collective karma? I remember a few years ago when we had that tsunami in the Buddhist countries, for example. It was Thailand, Sri Lanka, all that, and there was a lot of ideas that these people died because they were in that place. They were seaside, and then the tsunami came, and they were born in that place because it was their collective karma to be killed in tsunami. Would that be according to the Buddhist teachings, collective karma? Huh? Oh, the plane crash? Plane crash, war. Karma is always your individual karma. Always. It's not like your karma can affect my karma, perhaps. You take care of me, and therefore I'm kind towards you. And the same, I'm teaching you, and yet because of that you respect and be kind towards me because I'm Sangha. So in that sense, my karma affects you now, right? So it gets intertwined. But again, many things are not karma. So collective karma, no. There is no such a thing as collective karma. Full stop. Natural disasters, tsunami, whatnot, is not your collective karma. It's not your karma to be born into a seaside town in certain part of the world where tsunami can struck. It doesn't work that way. You were just born there because you were other desires, and because of that, you wanted to get close to that family, and you were Thai, Sri Lanka, whatnot, and you got born into that place. tsunami struck, it's not that you could choose somehow. How can you what kind of psychic powers you would need to like, I'm going to be born into this place and I don't just get coffee, but that there will be a tsunami struck 2011 when there was that big one, it's like what, you would have supernatural powers about earthquakes? It's like, and then because of that the tsunami start. It's like, do you see how difficult it would be to position yourself into that place? But sometimes I think about this. What about if we were born in Europe during the Second World War, and then we cannot be outside of the history, right? You are born into that culture at that time. You're protecting, and then the wheels are turning in such a way that, like, you just happen to be 18 to 20-year-old, and the war was going on in that culture, and it was considered as like, we are protecting our religion, our families, our homes. Would you take up arms? It's really difficult to say no, really is. Unless you had made choices in the past which sort of contributed into that karma, and there is a war in the country, and you're just like, even though it's really difficult, they put you in jail, you refuse to take arms, you will refuse to take arms because the karma, even though that everything in the history is pushing you to kill others. But so, and then let's say you ended up you were in the liberation army of Holland, and you got killed in the army. Next life, that sort of changed perhaps your karma, that you felt so bad about if you had to kill somebody. And like, even though it's like they gave you orders, you just took the orders, and still you have to bear the karma because you choose to take to obey the orders, so to speak. You were in the military, and then you end up killing somebody. Well, next life you get born, perhaps you would be really really against wars. There would be that's what sometimes I think, maybe the hippie generation which got born right after the war, maybe there was something to that. Maybe there is like collective consciousnesses got born as young child again, and they were in the military, they got killed in the war, in the Second World War, and then the hippie generation started from their children. Maybe those were the children who got killed too early in the war, and they were really discussed about it. They changed their sort of like the way they behave. Just saying, it could happen. So maybe there is this kind of generational things happening, almost like a wave. But as karma, it is, when you consider it, it is individual. You bear it, but no, you cannot sort of choose to live in one place and then the tsunami somehow appears and you had chosen that. I cannot even understand how that could be possible. Otherwise, you could predict the future. Just even that, from that point of view, you can understand how it's impossible. Eddie, is it question? Yeah. Are you sure?
Ajahn Mudito, karma again,
Yeah.
You say no collective karma.
Yes.
But that's your idea. I respect that. Okay?
What? That's my opinion.
Your opinion, yeah. You see, my opinion is, like, for example, at the moment, two countries. I wouldn't mention the country, no, but I leave it to your imagination. Which country,
Yeah.
The first one, there's war now, going on,
Yeah.
Now, the war going on now. So I was just thinking, why? I read the history. There's a lot of corruption in the whole country, The whole country is very corrupt in negative things that they're thinking.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking, maybe there is some little effect. Maybe, I was just thinking, this country, okay?
Yeah.
I leave to your imagination. Oh, it starts with you, okay? Yeah. The other.
Oh, you mean the country starts with you?
Yeah. So that's, I won't mention the full. So the other one starts with A. Okay. It's just you know this country.
Okay.
So it's a falling empire.
So you're okay.
It's a falling empire. So
Yes.
I was just thinking, because they do a lot of negative things, you know. Negative things, so many they do, you know. And
Yeah.
then there is the people voted for the person, you know. And
Yeah,
you're
so
voting for
even
a criminal, and then you make it worse. So it could be a collective. It's only my thinking, you know. Could
yeah,
it be a
so I
collective
think
thing?
even that in that large country which starts with you,
Ah.
and who perhaps haven't made very smart choices with their leader, are you, well, I mean, in
Okay,
that
the
sense,
leader is
it's sort of
hopeless.
like you
Yeah,
can
that one.
see that even small actions, you only have one vote, right?
Ah.
Some people, some wealthy people give this kind of campaigning, they have almost like not just one vote, they have $184 million who they give to this, towards this one person. So,
Ah.
so in that sense, that person would make more kamma, but it sort of highlights perhaps I still take my stance that no, there's no group kamma, like that's, you know, collective kamma, so to speak. I still hold my position, but I can see that I would say one thing, even that one vote matters. You voted for a Hitler to be in power. And, or, you know, like you voted into this and that power. So choices matter. They do matter. So it's, yeah, and you have to bear sort of these consequences now. And so you are part of that society there. You didn't stand up. And then in that sense, like even now, if we see Buddhist monks misbehaving in the in East and Thailand, Sri Lanka, Burma, for example, this Ajahn, what's his name? They call him Vira something. We should speak against it, because even non-action sometimes it creates. Maybe that's the neutral kamma that I know this monk is speaking badly about Muslims, and now it's like it's okay to kill them. If I feel strongly about it but not speak, I'm still committing kamma in that sense. But no, there is no collective kamma. It's not like collective kamma, Eddie, means that we all have to experience it together. We would have to be together in this kind of like experiencing it together. That's what it would mean. It's just, no, it cannot happen. You individually get these results from that.
But don't you
But-
think the war in the
but-
country, the people all suffer? It's collective.
Yeah, because of your choices. But I mean, it happens here as well. We suffer because of your choices, Eddie. No, we benefit also from your choices. You choose to come here and you're doing a lot of good things. Like,
Anyway, thank you very much
yeah.
for the discussion. It makes it
yeah,
clearer.
no, it is interesting. It is absolutely interesting. Yeah. So, question from online. Even in doing neutral kamma, there is delusion? Question mark. So is even doing neutral kamma, is that delusion? Yes, it has to be. Otherwise there is you're not creating kamma. It's like, does it has to be delusion? Yeah, that's the weird thing about it. I don't know. I don't want to answer it. I don't want to answer it because I have to ask Ajahn Brahmalini to talk about it. It's just recently I started to think about the neutral kamma. Does it have to have delusion? Underlying cause, yes, there has to be delusion to create kamma. Yeah. So, of course, it has to have delusion as an underlying cause. Yep. No, it's nice to talk about these things, and it like kamma is complicated, but sometimes I think we complicate two things, and people have these sort of like too simplistic ideas that they can say that this this is my kamma. It's like you don't know, and then or some traditions they talk about they have all the answers what kamma is, how to neutralize that kamma. It's wrong teaching. It's not, the Buddha didn't teach that. Kamma is too complicated. It's sort of like goes back and back and back. It goes so far that it's impossible to see the beginning of all things. Question? Yes. Yeah, please.
Ajahn, Ajahn Brahmali once said that being born a human, we all have grey karma.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Concentrate on the good things. Yeah. Yeah. And same as collectively, we have so much good karma to be come across with Eddie, and you, and me, like you. So it's tremendous. Look, we concentrate on the good things. So there's like the Buddha said, to get born as a human is a precious opportunity. But once you so concentrate on the good things and make more good things. Never underestimate good things. Never always be quick of giving, whether it's kind word or taking care of somebody, or it's always like comes to your mind, do something. Do with your body, speech, and mind. Always always be quick with goodness.
thank you.
Okay, right. The third noble truth, the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. Finally, we're coming to an end. It's not the end yet, but we'll see what causes the end to come. I think coffee is part of it. It's sort of jhana-inducing substance. This is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. It is the remainless fading away and the cessation of that same wanting, what we just talked about. Choosing. Wanting related to the five senses, wanting for existence and wanting not to be. The giving up and relinquishing of it, freedom from it, never letting it settle enough to grow. Wherever in the world there is anything agreeable and pleasurable, there the cessation of wanting comes about. You end it in this body and mind. And what is there in the world that is agreeable and pleasurable? Seeing the world is agreeable to pleasure. Hearing, smelling, tasting, touching and knowing is agreeable and pleasurable. And there this wanting comes to be abandoned. There its cessation comes about. Whatever spiritual seekers in the past regarded pleasant and agreeable things in the world as impermanent, as suffering, as non-self, as an affliction, as fearful, they abandon the wanting. So the ending comes the same way as we are now unraveling the ball, so to speak. We are coming to an end, and the same way it's conditioned. And it's, again, like, where does the ending happen? It doesn't happen somewhere. It's like, oh, in the future, I'll get born in the heavenly realm. Sure, it can happen there as well. So in that sense, don't underestimate that you can practice as a Devaloka. It's never said anywhere that born as a human is very precious because of you cannot practice anywhere else. No, even the Devas enjoy hearing the Dhamma. Even in Devas, they will practice according to the Dhamma. So even they, the same way, can get enlightened, and that is perhaps the stepping stone to get. But again, don't think that as an end. Dependent cessational phenomena. That's the how to end it all. But with the remainderless fading away and the cessation of that same wanting, tanha, we talked about, the thirst, comes cessation of fuel, upadana, bringing up, taking up, like the roots from the tree. With the cessation of fuel, cessation of states of existence, bhava. With the cessation of states of existence, cessation of rebirth, jati. With the cessation of rebirth, old age and death. Sorrow, lamentation, pain, unhappiness and distress cease. With the cessation of this whole mass of suffering, this is the passing away of suffering. The cessation, subsiding, passing away of form, of experience, of perception, of will, of consciousnesses, is the cessation of suffering, the subsiding of affliction, passing away of old age and death. So everything starts unraveling dependently on other. And the one thing, what brings the one thing into end? Well, you start seeing things the correct way. And then later on, when we go through, if we get to go past the Four Noble Truths, we go into the Eightfold Path. And you walk that path and you start taking a little pieces off from that graving. It starts ending in different ways in your life, so to speak. You correct perhaps how do you speak to others. Perhaps you need to correct your livelihood. You start coming to the Buddhist society and you start correcting your view at the beginning of the Eightfold Path. That feels you're more mindful. Because you're more mindful, you get deeper into meditations. That clears how you see the world again. This is interesting how it works. It's all dependently coming to an end as well. Nibbana with residue remaining. This is peaceful, this is sublime. That is stilling, samatha of will, of all will, sankharas. The relinquishing of all acquisition, the destruction of wanting, fading away, cessation, nibbana. Again, here we talk about the same word. We have the sankhara here. It seems to be appearing over and over again. I just want to point it out. Samatha is this stilling, is meditations, really. But here we talk about, obviously, going into the nibbana. It's like ending, turning everything off. The sankhara, the will is where you exist. You're choosing to push away, hold on to things. And then from there, that destruction is starting to fade away. That's the nibbana. When excited by wanting, overcome by wanting, when full of aversion, overcome by aversion, when deluded, overcome by delusion. With mind obsessed by these, you intentionally create problems for yourself, for others, or both. You experience mental suffering and depression. But when wanting, aversion, and delusion are abandoned, you do not intentionally create any problems for yourself, for others, or both. And you do not experience mental suffering and depression. In this way, that nibbana can be experienced directly. The Venerable Sariputta said, the destruction of wanting, the destruction of aversion, the destruction of delusion, this is called nibbana with the residue remaining. So this is like what you have to understand. So even here and now, you can be enlightened. So we have the two words, again, reminding everybody this is the basic classes of Buddhism. We have two kinds of nibbana, so to speak, not that they, or two different words of ending. We have parinibbana and we have the nibbana. Pari means complete. So we have nibbana and complete nibbana. So here what we talk about, what the Sariputta is saying here is the residue remaining. You don't have wanting. You don't have hatred, ill will, aversion, and delusion has ended. You have nibbana sort of be in this life. You live, but you don't want anything anymore. All wanting has ended. So if you see somebody who's fully enlightened, that's why you have to see whether they have any of these things. It's hard to know whether they have delusion, because if you have delusion, you don't know what it means to be ended delusion. But unless you have ended your delusion and you look somebody else who has no delusion, then you know that they don't have delusion either. But what is clearly easy to see, if a teacher is further in a path, or somebody's further in a path, whether they have these two first things, the wanting and aversion. Those are easy to see almost to everybody. But this is how you experience Nibbana directly here and now. Then the second Nibbana, which is the same thing, is just a person who has Nibbana dies. Then the Parinibbana happens. Then this person is like a flame. We talk about, and I'm sure, oh yes, the quote will come there later, but I'll say it now anyways. It's like a candle, with the flame. When we have a candle, it's fueled by something. We talked about Upadana. Where's the Upadana again? Here we go. Let's go dependent cessation. How anything end? Well, like we have Upadana with the candle. Something fuels you. It makes you as you. Your volitional activities. You're choosing. You're willing to be. You're choosing to do something. That fuels you. It keeps you and your mind alive. Your mind and your body alive. But it is with the Nibbana. It's like a candle. Candle has a wax. Candle has a wick, and has the flame is there because it's when it's burning. So that's the flame itself is almost like that. That life, so to speak. But when the fuel, the Upadana, runs out, the wax burns out. It doesn't have any more fuel to sustain itself, the candle, or a flame gets blown out by wind. Where does the candle go? It goes, the flame. The flame goes into Parinibbana. Goes to. That's a wrong way of saying it. Flame doesn't go anywhere. The candle is, the flame is Parinibbanat. It's turned off. And when you speculate what is after somebody who's enlightened, what's remaining of them, the only thing you can say is that the feel has ended. You don't say that they go anywhere, which the mistake I used there, the language. But when feel ends, it takes away from all this, the phenomena, or the dependent cessation happens. It just happens. It's natural cause and conditions come to be. And you cannot say that these people, they go anywhere. And this is what we talk about here in the next one, the Arahant. I have a little bit more time and then we meditate again. If one is intent on the end of wanting and clarity of mind, when one sees the rising of any of the six senses, one mind is completely free from wanting. For one of peaceful mind, one completely liberated, there's nothing further be done, no need to increase what has to be done. As a stone mountain, one solid mass is not stirred by the wind, so no sight, sound, odors, taste, touches and mind objects, desirable or undesirable, stir the stability of mind. This is a mind steady and freed, and you witness the vanishing of the mind. Here now. And one who has considered all the contrast on this earth and is no more disturbed by anything whatever in the world, the peaceful one, freed from the rage, from frustration and from wanting, this stream of consciousness will not get reborn. And Mara is like the Buddhist devil, the tempter. Mara asks, by whom has this being been created? Where's the God? Where is the maker of this being? Where has this being arisen? Where does this being cease? And a bhikkhuni who's fully enlightened, Vajira, replies, why now do you assume a being? Why do you think there is a being here? Mara, is that your wrong view? This is a heap of sankharas. These are just made out of things. Here is no being to be found inside of my mind, body and mind. Just as with coming together of parts, a word vehicle is used. So, when the five components of existence, there is a conventional term of being. The same way. Okay, here we go. Wow. I've finished here. I explained a little bit and then we meditate. It is only dukkha, suffering, that comes to be, dukkha that stands and dukkha that falls away. Nothing but dukkha comes to be, nothing but dukkha ceases. An arahant, fully enlightened one, understands the six senses, sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, and the mind as the sixth, will cease completely and totally without remainder, and no other senses will arise anywhere in any way. This is another way one knows that there is nothing more to be done. One is fully enlightened. So in that sense, what the nun is saying here, that like you say, you would take a car, and if we take the one wheel of the car, and you ask, is this still a car? Sure, of course it's a car. If you take all the wheels off, it's still a car. If you take the engine off, yeah, it still has a shape of a car. How far can you keep stripping apart the car, and the carness disappears? And the same way, when somebody gets a point into as like the car has disappeared, but you put one part back into it, you cannot say all of a sudden the car appeared. In that sense, there's no fine line where this kind of sense of self disappears and it exists, but it is constructed of things. Us, we, who we are here now, that's us. As any can say, I exist. But it's made out of things. It's never the same. It's constantly changing. And then, but once all of these things totally cease, this kind of wheel of changeability, when it completely comes to a cease, it's almost like an idea coming to an end. When idea ends, where did the idea go to? Where did it come from, and where did it go to? You cannot just sort of speculate the idea went somewhere and now it lives in a heaven of ideas. When the idea ceases, meaning you, there's no more coming back. And that's the only way to end the suffering. There's no other way. And do I want to say anything else about that? Maybe not. Let's take a break again, and then we go into more questions. And then after the break, we'll figure out what is actually the way to end it. 10-minute break. So one more time, go back to the breath for a little while on this last meditation. Feel how enjoyable it is to be able to breathe. There's a storm outside, but you can have peace in your mind. The mind doesn't have to be in storm. You can be unshakable mountain like an arhat. And then just look 3 breaths with very kindly eyes, very carefully. Look at the breath 3 times, going in and out, then you can open your eyes. And that's the end of the last meditation. Okay, last time to ask questions today before I do the last teachings, the last discussion we can have. So we're going about half an hour more, a bit more than that, but not much longer. And it's very rare to have rain at this time of the year here in Perth, so it's very lucky after the heat yesterday. Wonderful. Any questions about the ending the suffering? Or interesting thing is, like, what do you think is that as somebody who's fully enlightened, then they don't choose anything? Do they have preferences? Would the Buddha have a preference of eating certain type of foods? Does an arhat, do they want to go to the toilet? Would they just sort of sit there and pee underneath themselves? There's about the first one is even with the fully enlightened ones, even with the Buddha, the preferences of one thing are 2 different things. So we can just take those apart a little bit, because even the Buddha said when he goes towards his own country, so to speak, the region he was from, he said that he's like he can really digest the food better when he eats the food what is suitable for his body. So he didn't have a preference, so to speak, in that large sense. Didn't have craving, but he realized that even for him, the food his body was used to it. He seems to his body could be able to digest it better. And in that sense, you can think of even fully enlightened ones, or somebody who's really far in this path, that they still have sort of like they have to choose, obviously, in life. You get your brain going. You have to get use your thinking, but then but you're always coming from a place of compassion. So in that sense, that sometimes there's a lot of discussion. For example, should we all be vegans, perhaps vegetarians? Is it unkind to eat meat? But and you would think that somebody like somebody starts talking about, a monk starts very strongly talking about that everybody should be vegetarian, that people think that's like, yes, that monk is compassionate. Like, everybody should be vegan. Why we shouldn't have factory farming? It's really against that Buddhist ideas. What kind of compassion is this if we don't promote veganism? And you would think that kind of monk that, like, yes, that they perhaps they would be popular even. There's like, finally, it's like somebody is like promoting what the Buddha seems to be teaching. But you can't see it that way. It's like even it depends where these people are coming from. Obviously, it's good to talk about kindness and that kind of things. That yes, if you can, please do be vegans. It's good for you in many ways, and it's good for the nature. But if you cannot sustain yourself, even if you just try to lessen the amount of suffering you can, you create in the world, but you won't be able to end all the suffering that way. It just doesn't work. I said a few times when I was teaching somewhere, I'm not sure people understand this similarly, but I've read a lot of near-death experiences. I find them fascinating. Sometimes I just get into the habit of reading them. And no matter how often I look at them, and people have all these things like they go through their life quite often. They describe how they went through their life, all the choices they made, and how they behaved, and how they took care of somebody, or how they, if they mistreated somebody, how they experienced that kind of that those actions they've done, that they have to experience it not just from their own perspective, but the perspective of the other. If you say a bad word, you really feel how that other person felt when you said those things to that person. But I never read a story where somebody says, like, I wish I would have been a vegan. I wish I would have not eaten meat, for example. It's what we have to remember that for example, eating meat is not inherently bad. It is obviously you choose to do that, but you are coming from a place of like that you are not really, you are contributing into the killing in a sense, but in a way secondhand, and that's what the difference there is. And it's just sort of, and again, I don't know if people really get that point, but it doesn't come up in those kind of moments when you review your life, so to speak. You come to that, see the yama, and you come to the, look at the mirror, at the yama comes, and you silly man, you silly person, didn't you understand that you should have been vegan? It doesn't come in those points. So yes, try to lessen the suffering in the world, and we understand what, like, meat eating, perhaps it is, or not just perhaps, but it is lessening. And if it really bothers your mind, then you should lean towards that. But at the same time, you have to remember, as a compassionate thing, you have compassion towards yourself as well. So if you need to have certain, for example, a meat, small amounts, and it sustains your body better, your digestion is better, and it sustains you better. You just don't eat because of that massive enjoyment. Then being vegetarian or vegan, it doesn't seem to be such a big deal. Again, I mean, we shy away from these things, and not that I really want to talk about too much about it, but we make choices all the time. And these choices, sometimes we don't know. It's hard to see, like, what is contributing into the wellness of ourselves as well. But it doesn't mean that you are fully enlightened, that you don't eat meat. The Buddha himself ate meat. What? There's no questions? Somebody always gets angry, usually the vegans. The militant vegans. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of online things coming, but try not to do that. You're not creating even as a vegan, you know, you try to be a pacifist and a vegan, and try to come from a point of view of kindness and that kind of thing. That's always a better way of trying to persuade people. Yep.
Probably relevant to there is a path, and also cessation of suffering. But you talked before about doubt, and usually doubt as a hindrance for people is self-doubt about the
Abilities.
meditation or teachings.
Yeah.
Ability to practice the teachings.
Yeah.
And it kind of stayed with me too from the workshop you gave with Sunyo when you were talking about the 5 hindrances.
Yeah.
Just kind of looking at my own mind afterwards. I can't remember what the some of the solutions or way to work with that was. You shared some in the previous workshop, but just, what do you recommend in terms of
towards the
self-doubt as a hindrance? Personally, I feel quite confident in the teachings, and I feel really confident in Ajahn Brahm and the Sangha, for example, and then I can probably have a bit more doubt towards my own ability to progress.
Yeah, well, there's already, the thing is that when you see that that I have that you're already one step, you recognized it. It's already like, I don't know, Eddie would say 80% there. It really is actually a big thing. Recognize your hindrance. Like I know that, and you see it, how much dukkha, how much suffering there is because of that, the hindrance. Like I was like, people think it's like, oh, doubt is good. It's good to question, but it's not. This questioning we have, it's not questioning with this kind of. What's the difference? Like you asking question, you're trying to understand, and whereas you're asking question, and you're sort of putting down the teachings. What I'm trying to come to. What I'm trying to say is that you're questioning sort of like aggressively. It will come to me anyway. So doubt is like, just by recognizing the doubt, it's already a good step. It's like, I have doubt. This is how it manifests. This is what brings up doubts. Like, and this is how it feels like. Well, then when you recognize what it feels like and what it is, how it manifests, then you quite naturally come towards that. That's why I think it's like 80%. You quite naturally then know what to do with it. You can just sort of like let it be, so to speak. For me, sometimes people, I feel, at least from my own practice, it feels like easiest way is just to just drop it, not to mess with it. Sort of like, I have doubt, you try to sort of reason your way out of it. It's just not working. Just drop it. Don't mess around with it. Just not my problem. Like, I can just, like, you're in your head, thinking. What if I just look into my feet when I'm walking now on the street? You're walking your dog, and then you just pay attention to your walking. And all of a sudden it was like, what a relief that is. Just because you just didn't mess around with that doubt, or anger, or any other of those things. And another perhaps thing for doubt is like, you study more, and then you try to figure it out in that sense. Like, you keep studying. It's like, how do I have doubt towards the teachings. But with the meditation, which really is a big hindrance, is that it's like, I can't meditate. I can't. Nobody can meditate. To be honest, none of you can meditate. We all know it. I have a lot of doubt. Is yet you are there. That's the problem. So the you has to be sort of go like a little bit, don't pay attention to that you part so much. That's the biggest hindrance there. It's not that you cannot meditate, or nobody can meditate. There's no one anymore can meditate. Only maybe Ajahn Brahm can meditate. And it's very easy to come at that, but as long as you recognize it, you can be at ease with it. Like, okay, so doubt the doubt. Like, why is it true? Like, it's in my head. It must be true. In my head, there's doubt, and that's some kind of wisdom. Doubt that. Question your doubting. Maybe there is a lot of other people who can meditate. Maybe there are like a lot of kind people here, and they are, have this kind of peaceful moments. And then also with your own mind, with this, like, I haven't had a good meditation ever. I don't know what they're talking about. That's why Ajahn Brahm always says at the end of the meditation, look what's happened in your mind. What's happened in your body. Is your body now a bit calmer? Always try to recognize the positive things about mindfulness and meditation. Like I said, sometimes I just feel really nicely calm when I'm worried about something. I'm like dwelling on this like useless little things of life. And then I just sort of like, what am I doing? I just walk. And it just feels freedom. These are the little freedoms we can experience. So yes, doubt it's quite a lot of suffering there because of that. And it's hindering your meditation to sit down, because if you don't have doubt, then you want to meditate. Really, it's like it keeps you away from the cushion. What's the point of you meditating? I won't be able to meditate. What am I doing? I'm just going to be frustrated and there's pain in my body for half an hour. I just go and do kite surfing instead. Long answer. I don't know if you remember any of that, but drop it. Yeah, keep that. Drop it. Drop it. Don't hold too strongly on it. Anything else? Meditation, mindfulness? Good. We might be able to. I don't remember how long this chapter is, but the chapter 4, or that fourth noble truth rather. What is the truth of what leads the way to the cessation of suffering? I feel this is a long chapter, so it's like we're not gonna get there, but we have about half an hour and then we end it there today, because I have a lot more talking to be done today. Fourth, the noble truth of the fourth noble truth, the truth of the way leading to the cessation of suffering. There are these two extremes that should be avoided. The pursuit of happiness through the five senses, which is low, hina, secular, coarse, ignoble, unbeneficial, and the pursuit of practices that fatigue the body and mind, which are painful, ignoble, and unbeneficial. Without going to either of these extremes, the Buddha has awakened to the middle way, which gives rise to vision, which gives rise to wisdom, which leads to peace, the direct understanding, the awakening, nibbana, ending of all things, turning off, cessation. It is this noble eightfold path, namely the right view, right motivation, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right endeavor, right mindfulness, and right stillness. This is the middle way awakened to by the Buddha, which gives rise to vision, which gives rise to wisdom, which leads to peace, the direct understanding, the awakening to nibbana. So this is an interesting thing again, like sometimes we think we should be somehow enduring pain during the meditation. There's a certain amount of obviously irritation in your ankles, knees, back, bum is sitting. Try not to endure pain while meditating. Make sure that you have comfortable enough place where you sit. You don't get extra points by sitting on the ground in full lotus. You don't go towards that. You're up. If you're doing practices that fatigue body and mind, which are painful, those are ignoble and beneficials. So don't go into that extreme with your meditation. That's not going towards nibbana. But with the with the idea of coming to as Buddhist society or being a Buddhist, and you think as like, oh, meditation is the only thing we need to do, right? Or mindfulness perhaps is the only thing we need to do. That is the wrong view as well. The Buddha always talked about Eightfold Path, and meditation is part of it. But for example, if we look at here the Eightfold Path, it is this noble Eightfold Path: right view, right motivation, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right endeavor, right mindfulness, right stillness. Where is meditation mentioned there? It doesn't seem to have a meditation there. The Buddha didn't dare say, oh, meditation is here. These all support each other, these like 8 factors, right? And it could be, maybe Buddha could have taught Noble Ninefold Path, Tenfold Path. Tenfold Path is actually mentioned some places. But why do we have this Eightfold Path? Well, these are 8 things which you necessarily have to lead towards stillness. Stillness is there at the end. Right view is in the beginning. That's the end of if you think this as a loop, the stillness causes you to have right view. The right view is there where we talked about... I said something about wisdom here. Peace, direct understanding, the awakening to Nibbana. Without stillness, the stillness which is the last part, without that, you cannot correct the first one, which is the right view. Without the right view, you don't really have the right motivation. You don't really know where you're aiming to, so to speak. The second one is the motivation is just sort of like, you really have to think about the motivation as like where you're coming from. What are you, like we talked about kamma earlier, right? We're doing actions. What lies behind those actions, is what matters. That's the right motivation. That's how you have to think about the motivation. So you are making things in life, and you should, the motivation behind them, what matters. Are you coming from anger, hatred, ill will, that kind of things, greed? Or is the opposite? Or are you coming from a place of letting go, kindness, generosity? Is that your motivation? That's what the right motivation means. We always creating kamma, right? We're always creating something which is like willed actions. We're choosing volition. What lies behind it matters. Right speech, right action. Interesting thing is that the Buddha said, your speech matters tremendously. Without correcting what you breathe in, again, this comes to that part of that kamma, right? Speech and action. So when we live in this world, we're creating kamma. We're creating things which we have to. So the bank account, so to speak, what sustains us, and by doing good by body, speech, and mind, again, you are creating that kind of path in general. It's not just you can just meditate and not to worry about how do you behave in the world. It doesn't work that way. Right livelihood is in there. Again, same. Do you feel good about yourself? Livelihood is what sustains us. For us monastics, right livelihood is not just being a monastic. That itself, for a monk, what is a wrong livelihood? Is for us, for example, we would give you omens. We read your palm. We would read the stars. We would take money for doing this, what we're doing. All of those things are wrong livelihood for monastics. Right endeavor and right mindfulness. Again, those, by the way, with what it says into the right livelihood, all of those things which come before that support the right livelihood. So once you view your motivation, where you're coming from, starts straightening up, it starts to feed into that livelihood, then you know what right livelihood means. Until then, you just sort of, you guesstimate it, but you get it sort of good enough right. Right endeavor, right mindfulness. Now we start getting towards that meditation part. Like I said, where is the meditation mentioned here? What is the right endeavor here? Remember we used to have a nun here called Ajahn Vayama, right? Very good nun. That the endeavor. What did she possess? What was the right thing she was doing? She was living humbly. She was living in a caravan, right? Very simple way of living. She left the world behind as a nun. She was generous person giving teachings. We still hear her chanting here every night. She was, what else she would have possessed that we would be right endeavor as a Vayama? Left behind the world, she restrained, she kept, obviously it goes into the right speech and all that, kind words and all that, but it's, endeavor really is this kind of pre-warned, what Ajahn Brahm says about kamma. She stopped. Mostly about endeavor is about, the big thing is to start like this stopping, doing less and less, just like saying no to the world. That's what it really means. That's the right endeavor. Right mindfulness and right stillness. These are the 7 and 8. Honestly, what people are talking about meditation, most of the time what we are practicing is the 7th part, right mindfulness. Right mindfulness just doesn't mean that this kind of mindfulness day-to-day life. You possess wisdom and you live according to certain way. It's almost like they come into this other parts. The wisdom goes with all of these factors. You cannot have right stillness, the 8th, without wisdom. And you cannot have right stillness without wisdom, and you don't have wisdom without the stillness. So everything goes hand in hand. It's same with the mindfulness. Once the wisdom starts growing, you start getting more and more mindful in the world. But the mindfulness is really the regular, Eddie, we have the questions afterwards. And then there's a mindfulness is this meditation what most of the time we're doing. It's not the right stillness. Why isn't the 8th? Why couldn't we say that's meditation? Because that is what the Buddha, the Pali word is jhanas. So yes, you can say that's meditation, but that is, honestly, is what when you look at the Pali word, is practicing jhanas. That is the right stillness, what the Buddha was talking about. When the Buddha was saying, jayata ma pamadata, don't look, practice jhanas, don't delay. Don't delay. That's what he's saying. To get out of the samsara is to practice what Ajahn Brahm translates here as stillness. You can have certain parts of stillness, certain kind of stillness. Yes, of course. And you get certain kind of wisdom coming from that, insights, and you correct your right view with that. The beginning part. You know where you're coming from, you start coming more and more from a place of kindness, you speak right kind words, you're doing the way you behave in the world. All of those things. So slowly, it's gradual path. We just had the gradual path, gradual training, the workshop, and the Buddha described it as like you're going into the ocean, you're from the beach, you go to the Scarborough Beach, and it doesn't go like, you go beach and in the water, and then all of a sudden it's 2 kilometers deep. It's very gradual. You keep walking into the water of stillness more and more. So the pursuit of pleasure that is linked to the 5 senses, that is low, secular, coarse, ignoble, and beneficial. It's a state beset by suffering, frustration, and despair, and fever, and that is the wrong way. Disengagement for the pursuit of pleasure that is linked to the 5 senses, low, secular, coarse, ignoble, and beneficial, It is a state without suffering, frustration, despair, and fever, and it's the right way. So again, this engagement, so I talked about the Vayama. It's more and more disengagement. It's just sort of like, it's like, oh, like I have to somehow, we all have to become ascetics. We turn away from the world. No, it means that you are slowly, with the wisdom grows, and you are doing things more with wisdom. How do you speak? You speak with wisdom. What is, wise words? People want to hear you. You speak kindly. You speak timely. What is wisdom with eating? You don't always find the most pleasure with eating. You're eating what your body needs. You're eating Chinese food if you're Chinese person. You eat Sri Lankan food if you're Sri Lankan. You eat Finnish food if you're Finnish person. That is wisdom. Partly it goes like that. You know what your body needs. You're used to certain kind of foods. You grew up with certain things. And with that, it's like I eat this not because I get the ultimate pleasure out of this, but because it sustains me well. And then you're over and done with. You don't go eating 5-6 times a day unless you live in Singapore or Malaysia. You restrain eating 6 times a day. 3 is enough. 4 if you're stretching it. Okay, you have to have the tea at night time. So you sort of go more in with wisdom. We don't become ascetics here. That's not the point. We just sort of like, I'm eating to sustain my body. It keeps me healthy. I enjoy the food, and therefore it gets digested well. Because I speak kind words. Our people are my friends. This is the right way. It's like this pursuit of pleasure here really is pointing towards that we engage so much with the world that it's sort of like we're trying to squeeze every kind of like the pleasure we can get out of this world. That's the wrong way. The Noble Eightfold Path is the best of all practices. This is the only path for purifying inside. There is no other. Follow this path and you will discombobulate Mara, the tempter. Listen, the end of dying has been reached. I shall instruct you, I shall teach you the Dhamma, the truth, the teachings. Practicing as you are instructed by realizing for yourself in this very life through direct understanding, you will soon enter upon and abide in that supreme goal of the holy life for the sake of which people rightly go forth into monastic life. That is actually the beginning of the gradual training. Are you all going to ordain? Is it going to happen? Probably not. You are leaning that direction. It will happen. You cannot stop it anymore. I wonder if I want to go with the Eightfold Path, starting with the first one. This might be enough for today. Like I said, I still have a bit of a long day ahead of me, but just so I don't start a new one, we can go more into questions and discussion about this a little bit. So let's have discussions, and there is Eddie Cool. Nothing online. Eddie.
No, it's okay.
Oh no, there is questions. Yes, Eddie, please.
Okay, Ajahn Mudito, you talk about the Eightfold Path, okay?
Yeah.
You mentioned the 7th one is right concentration.
No,
Sorry. Sorry. Right mindfulness, 7th one.
Yes.
The 8th one is right stillness, sorry.
Yes.
Right stillness, yeah. My understanding is the meditation is the 7th one, right?
Yeah.
Mindfulness.
Mindful, that's my understanding as well.
My understanding is the 7th one is right mindfulness, 8th one is right concentration, is the meditation, the 8th one.
Right.
That's my understanding, you see?
Well, good for you.
Huh?
Yeah. Look, in theory, yes. In the Buddha, when you look at the Pali word, what Ajahn Brahm translate here is stillness, and you said concentration, which Bhikkhu Bodhi uses. Bhante Suchada uses immersion. What is the Pali word behind? Jhana.
Oh.
Eightfold path, when you look at that, the eighth path, it is not samatha. It's the eighth path, eighth part of the, it's not samatha, it's jhana.
So from your point of view, it is the fifth one, right?
I mean,
Effort.
look, it's samma
Sixth
samadhi
one.
to be the Pali word, but samadhi and samma samadhi and jhana are synonyms.
No, I'm trying to tune into yours, okay? So in this case, yours, the sixth one is right effort.
Yeah.
The seventh one is
Stillness.
right.
Mindfulness,
right,
Radhi.
right, that's meditation.
Yes.
And the eighth one is jhana.
Yeah.
Right.
Samadhi.
Stillness.
Yeah. But look, what is mindfulness then?
Mindfulness is you're aware of your you look into yourself. You're mindful of I'm sitting down. All this all that.
Yeah.
Mindfulness.
Yeah. So what are you doing while you're meditating?
When you meditate, you can be you sit down. You're mindful this thing, and then you many times
You're mindful of
you're
mindful of the breath.
Mind of breath. Yes.
Is that what we're teaching? Yes, that's mindfulness, right? You're mindfully breathing. That's mindfulness, what you're practicing.
So you're combining together that one, the thing.
Where does the mindfulness of breathing lead to?
Mindfulness, stillness.
It leads to stillness. Yes.
No. I'm
But
trying.
most of
first
it.
time I hear what you say this thing. First time I'm trying to to tune it.
So mindfulness, right mindfulness, which will come tomorrow, hopefully. I don't know if you get tomorrow, but right mindfulness leads to right stillness. You're correct. But to most times, most people don't get into the right stillness. Right stillness, not just like, it's a little bit calm here, I'm a little bit cool, like Eddie Cool. But it's not right samma samadhi. It's not what the Buddha was using. Samma samadhi equals jhana, as far as I am concerned. Other teachers could say different things, but mindfulness, right mindfulness, it is honestly is what we are practicing most of the time when we're meditating. Most people, most times. You rightly, and it's quite honestly you're probably not even doing it rightly, right mindfulness. Your breath meditation might not be that hot because you're too cool. Taunting Eddie. Look, Eddie, right mindfulness is, like breath meditation is right mindfulness. Right breath meditation, when rightly done, leads you to all the way to Nibbana. Why? Because it leads you into samma samadhi, right stillness, meaning jhanas. Jhanas, you get the wisdom. You get from the wisdom, what you did, you get the right view corrected. And again, then you look the world correctly. Just turning away starts happening. You're out of here, baby. That's what happens.
Right, jhanas is the end of suffering then, Eightfold Path.
No.
But then you're contradicting. You're saying
right.
The eighth one is jhana,
Yeah, but jhana itself is not enough. Jhana and wisdom. Jhana and wisdom. It has to have the wisdom. Wisdom has to rise. You still have to do contemplation practices after that. What does people think? Is Eddie on the right track there with the meditation? In his opinion, is the last part the stillness?
No, my right track doesn't matter now. You say this. I'm trying to tune to understand.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's right. It's not. Yeah. So have I corrected your view? Do you believe me now?
First time I hear this, I believe
it makes sense, doesn't it?
It makes sense.
All that. Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for telling. First time I heard this.
Yeah, no, you heard it, but you just didn't register it somewhere. I'm sure Ajahn Brahm taught this many, many times already. How long you been coming here?
No, he didn't mention it. I've been hearing his talk about this. The eighth one is
the
jhana.
you just sometimes you.
He mentioned jhanas, but not the eighth. In
Yeah,
fitting
it's just
into
sort of like
path.
we hear this all the time, and somebody says something differently. It's like, what? Right mindfulness? Mindfulness is like, yeah, I'm mindful throughout the day, right? I mindfully eat, I don't overeat, I don't undereat. I'm say mindfully talking. I say kind words, not unkind things. All of these things, that's mindfulness as well. But so there's different ways of doing mindfulness, and we come to that tomorrow. But if you talk about meditation, right mindfulness is, in that sense, breath is one of the ways to doing it.
So do you think the other Theravada monks, not under Ajahn Brahman, will they follow what you say?
Look, honestly, I don't know, I'm not answering any trick question.
Sorry.
No, most teachers, I don't know monks and nuns.
No, it's very related. It's very related,
Most teachers don't teach the eighth path of the Eightfold Path. Most teachers leave it out. They don't teach that. Ajahn Brahm is one of the only teachers which are constantly teaching about the right stillness as it is, meaning jhanas.
He is jhanas on Ajahn
How
Brahm
many
is
teachers
jhanas.
you hear teaching about jhanas? How many teachers? You go many other places, and you don't hear them talking about the Samma Samadhi as what the Buddha was teaching. So I don't think they're teaching what the Buddha was teaching. They just sort of don't consider it they're actually teaching the right mindfulness. As far as I'm concerned. Look, I'm happy to be wrong, and I probably am wrong, but my opinion.
I don't think you're wrong. There's something in what you say. I'm just trying to.
There's a seed of wisdom.
How would I adapt to what you say?
Thank you, Eddie.
And
Yeah.
I thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah.
First time I heard this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyway, thank you.
Okay, no, there's no more questions online, doesn't matter. Is there anything in the hall anymore? I just find it's like, look, it's nice to talk about it, and sometimes I've sort of, my little wisdom grows, and I'm like, hang on, what is this right mindfulness path? And then you look at it carefully, it's like, oh, that's where the meditation is actually. It's the same way for Ajahn Brahm always, like he said, like, where is metta here? Where do you think the metta exists here? Is it endeavor? Is it there? Where does metta appear? I would say that it's, Ajahn Brahm says, I'm not saying anything. It's the motivation, where you're coming from. Obviously, it's probably, it goes everywhere, but it's just, it appears there when you look at the motivation. We'll come to that tomorrow as well. We'll see. Hopefully it's there. I'm not teaching you porcupines. You mean right stillness? Is metta in right stillness?
While you are samadhi, you have metta.
When you have samadhi, you have metta?
That's my suggestion.
That's your suggestion. Well, good suggestion. And partly true. It's not like it's, there's, but if you really look at it, well, like where the Buddha placed it, it seems to be more into that right motivation. But all of these kind states, they lead into stilling of all things. You disappear. There's only metta, for example. And then that can lead into stillness, but it's not stillness itself. It's not right stillness. And to really have proper metta, it's really when you come out of that stillness, and then you direct your mind into that, into loving kindness, and you have it all pervasive loving kindness. Then you first time you really see what metta is. the problem is all of these things that is like to get there, then you really understand what they really mean, what you've been doing wrong and all that, and what the practice is. But it's sort of until then we sort of like stumble across this path and trying to do our best to correct it. But look, it's gradual training, it's gradual path, and we slowly we get there. Correct even for the view, yeah. But obviously metta exists in all of these places. Bill.
Yes, you mentioned the path is without groaning, but say Ajahn Kassapa promoted the Tanga practices.
Did he? Did he really promote Dhutanga practice? I mean, hard practices. That look, Buddha. Somebody went to Buddha and said, like, you were doing these a lot of hard practices when he was bodhisattva. Before Buddha became Buddha, before he got enlightened, what was he doing? He was really tormenting his body and mind. Really, like he was doing a lot of hard practices. And somebody asked, which is an interesting question. Somebody asked the Buddha, were you ever angry at yourself? Were you ever angry at your body? Were you disgusted about the body? And the Buddha said, I never had any kind of anger towards my body. And it's really difficult to, like, we think these hard practices, that when you're doing it, you're going to have some kind of like strong will, you're going to have anger. It's quite often it's accompanied by hard practices, like just sort of like, I can do this. There is anger there is ill will. But if you imagine if you have a lot of kindness and you're doing hard practices, it's really difficult to square. But that's how these monks practiced it, or the Buddha before he became enlightened, when he was bodhisattva. He was doing it with a lot of this kind of soft, kind attitude, which is almost impossible for us to think. He wasn't coming from a place of anger. He did not even have a hint of anger when he was doing those hard practices. It's interesting when you look at this from that point of view. So even for Mahakassapa to do these hard practices, he would not have had anger, ill will, any kind of, like, he was just sort of like practicing in the sense that simplicity. He was making his life simple. Not that he was punishing himself. If you would practice that, you would punish yourself. Or I punish myself if I do hard practices, very easily. Or I can slip very easily into the other ones, like I indulge.
But towards the end of his life, the Buddha mentioned to Mahakassapa to take it easy.
Right. Yes, okay. So the wisdom wasn't there yet.
Even though he was an arahant, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they did inspire each other, and it's like maybe there's something to that, but like you don't clearly see into your own, like how you're doing practices. You just got into this kind of habit of doing things, and like it might be even for the who are really further in the path, they just might not see it clearly that it is actually not good for their body. Maybe we need friends even when you're further on the path, in that sense. Yeah. Wait. Is it true?
Because is it true that for those advanced practitioners, when they can easily enter the samadhi, so
Yes,
the body really does not really matter. The
It is
bodily
true.
comfort, and when they can go 7 days without food,
No,
in the forest,
No. Well, I mean, the Buddha for Buddha to get into the deep samadhi, that samma samadhi, right stillness, what we talk about here, he had to eat enough and sleep enough to give up those extreme practices. So it's not true that you can probably endure a lot more hardship. You can think about it this way. Let's say when you are in really good mood, and then you just sort of like, even if you have something wrong with your body, it's just somehow it doesn't matter. You can just be calm about it. The calmness follows from that kind of pleasant state of mind.
Obviously, I read about the practice of Ajahn Kanha, right? He just went solo in the forest, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know.
But I mean, look,
and
just
then after that, he went after days, you know. Then there's a little village, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but again, I mean, Ajahn Kanha was one of the good meditators. Even now, if you want to go and meet a nice monk, besides all the monks in Bodhinyana and nuns in Dhammasara and all that, if you want to meet also a good monk, I'll go and see Ajahn Kanha. Ajahn Kanha was early on, when he was young monk, he didn't need to sleep. And that's why it made all the other monks started to think that there's something special about him, because he just didn't need to sleep. So he had something from the past that he was able to just be in this kind of still states, that he was replenishing his batteries, so to speak, a lot easier. So and for you would think it's like you go through these hardships. But again, I mean, his batteries were easily replenished by these really lofty, beautiful, beautiful states. So the mind is so uplifted. I mean, honestly, I'm living with Ajahn Brahm 15 years now, and to see him coming from Europe, and you would think you would be jet lagged. He's not a young monk anymore, but when he's really inspired, when he comes and he's been teaching, and he's uplifted, his mind is very radiant. You can see it. Yeah. Anything else? We're coming to an end. Maybe not yet. One more thing.
Ajahn Mudito, you know.
Yeah.
The Buddha was saying that the path towards enlightenment is the middle way. Okay?
Yep.
Yeah. Now coming back to Eightfold Path, you know.
Yep.
My understanding, you know, for my friends and all, they say that the Eightfold Path is the middle way. Could you see that? How the middle? So how can the Eightfold Path be middle way? How can it be right? The right is the middle way, isn't it? Right. Why do they put right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right, all the right thing? Can you see the Eightfold Path as a middle way?
Yes.
That's what I knew. I heard this. That's what I heard from my friends,
Eddie,
Buddhist
but
friends.
look at it this way. Really, to be on the Eightfold Path, really to be, to correct it, easiest way is to become a monk, Eddie. Only really the monks and nuns are doing what the Buddha was teaching about the Eightfold Path. You as a lay practitioner, your way of correcting it, like you can get really close, but you're very naturally into the Eightfold Path when you're living like a monastic. To be fair with you, that's why it's easier for monastics, monks and nuns, to get towards the even deep stillnesses. And to correct your view, you are really to be in the Eightfold Path. You gradually get in the gradual path. When you look at the gradual training, you become monastic. Sorry to say, but you can still get close by just listening to the teachings. You just keep your sila, and it doesn't mean you cannot get enlightened. It's still you can. There's no obstacle for you. But you're just to refine your sila is a lot more difficult. Your kindness, so to speak, if you're living a lay life. You are leaning towards that kind of enjoyment. You don't see the suffering in the world so easily.
No, that's what I'm asking, so like the Eightfold Path middle way, I don't know how.
I mean, it's a very natural way to lean towards, again, as a lay person, you're leaning towards more the indulgent, into the enjoying the five senses. You are leaning towards that. I'm not saying monastics, we don't lean towards that. We are, or ascetic way. We sort of bounce between, but our bouncing is a lot less. You are leaning towards being sensual. You are enjoying the sense of the world of five senses. So for you to sort of stop this, the path of samsara. It is a bit more work for you, Eddie. But luckily you have the means. I have full faith in you. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
No, it's good. I don't have chance. We don't have chance to go and talk. All this. Even though we could.
Look,
just
we'll
talk, at least
continue. We have until
I
Sunday.
learned a lot.
Don't despair.
Huh?
Don't despair. We have until Sunday. Keep coming.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
Thank you so
very
much.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Thank you.
Have a good day today, and I'll see you tonight, maybe. So I'm teaching the tonight's talk as well. Yeah. Very good. Thank you so much. Så gött. Aibo.